Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back for a Monday edition of the Steel City Sports Report, where we talk everything Steelers, Penguins, and Pirates. I am your host, Brady Vini, and boy, what a day of news do we have today. I came on just expecting, maybe a little chill day, do a little mock draft here in a little bit, but then bam, we get slammed with news from NFL league meetings going on down in Florida right now, as well as news that Aaron Rodgers, yes, that Aaron Rodgers, who has been toying with Steelers fans for seemingly the past month now about possibly signing with the black and gold. He is training with DK Metcalf, the new Steelers wide receiver. Gonna get to that. Gonna get to some Pittsburgh Pirates news as well. Not all good, coming off an absolutely horrendous series against the Miami Marlins. Gonna break that down, probably go a little nuclear on them. Also, Pittsburgh Penguins, a little bit of exciting news around them going on here as their season winds down with really nothing left to play for. But we're gonna let a couple more people get in here before we get started here today. Gonna start with Coach Mike Tomlin and General Manager Omar speaking at the NFL meetings down there in Florida. I always thought those meetings were in Miami. Turns out they're in Palm Beach, Florida. Still, though, got to see last night the annual coaches photo, Tomlin in there. Really a sort of blank expression from Tomlin this year. Usually he's like a smiley guy. This year, sort of like a middling face. Like you don't know if he's smiling, if he's angry, or does he got something up his sleeve? Did he need to fart in the photo? Nobody knows. But we're gonna get to that here in a minute. I will say, as always, please be sure to like and share this stream. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Turn on notifications so that you never miss when I go live or I post other content. And always, just like this, feel free to comment in the live chat, and I can interact with you guys that way. I appreciate it very, very much. Willing to take your insight on the mock draft I'm going to do later on for the Steelers. Just going to be a normal mock draft, and then we might do an all first round one next week. Just getting under 2 weeks now until the draft begins. So very, very exciting time. Almost kind of like you're a kid waiting for Christmas. The NFL draft is the Christmas of the NFL offseason. You never know what you're going to get. Comments there, take that off. So looks like we are going to get into some news now. So like I said, let's start with Mike Tomlin and Omar speaking at the NFL league meetings in Florida, down in Palm Beach, Florida right now. The yearly NFL league meetings are taking place where at least every head coach and general manager from each of the NFL franchises are present. At these meetings today, we got our first opportunity to hear from Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin since, I believe, his end of season press conference a little after the Steelers' playoff loss to the Baltimore Ravens. And we also got the opportunity to hear from general manager Omar for the first time since the scouting combine, when he spoke with local reporters and national reporters there. So there was a lot of questions asked to these two, mainly focusing around the Aaron Rodgers saga of, is he going to sign with the Steelers? If not, what are you going to do next? If he does, how does this affect your draft? Is he going to sign? All that good stuff. And I'm going to hang on here for a minute, wait for some people to come back in here, and I will restart that. Gonna do a quick scroll through X here, see what's going on. Nobody's watching right now. What is it reading? Nobody's watching. Anyway, it's gonna get my my mock draft set up. All right, so anyway, we're gonna get going now. Hopefully, you guys have rewound and able to say hi to me then. So yeah, league meetings going on down in Palm Beach, Florida right now. Yearly NFL league meetings are taking place, and first time we've heard from Tomlin since his end of season press conference, and first time hearing from Omar since the NFL scouting combine. There were a lot of questions asked to these two, mainly around the current saga about signing free agent quarterback Aaron Rodgers. So here's a recap of what both said. Going to start with Tomlin here, who spoke last night and this morning at the AFC coaches breakfast. Tomlin was one of the more popular coaches there. Heard that there was four deep in terms of rows of reporter circling Tomlin's table. And Tomlin was asked if he and the team had an update or a deadline set for Aaron Rodgers to decide whether he's signing with the Steelers or not. Tomlin did say, quote, I do not know that we've approached it from a deadline perspective. Deadlines don't often bring that to a head. There's no substitute for intimacy. So Tomlin in no rush for Aaron Rodgers to make a decision. He added that he and Rodgers did have a really productive day at the Steelers facility a few weeks ago now, and that he hadn't thought about, this issue being, or this situation being settled before the draft in April. And that had me thinking, like, Mike, the draft is very important. Why haven't you thought about that? I know you also said that you're not closing the door on taking a quarterback high in the draft, maybe even a first rounder again. But, don't you want to know definitively whether Rodgers is on your team or not before then, so that you don't, go in thinking that you have a need filled and then it's not after the draft? Like, I don't want to go through drafting a quarterback high, over drafting one, I should say, again, like Kenny Pickett, because you were so starved for, something at that position. But, I think that there has to be some sort of secret handshake agreement between Rodgers and them in place. Like, right? That has to be the case. So, I mean, let's hope so, because Tomlin said the following when asked if there's a plan B in case Rodgers either retires or signs elsewhere. Tomlin said, I don't know if we are identifying anything as a plan A, plan B, or plan C. We're just simply looking at the field of available people, whether it's free agency or the draft, and making decisions and gathering info accordingly. So, sounds like it is Rodgers or bust for the Steelers. Don't know if I love that, but that's the cards that they sort of dealt themselves. That's the position that they put themselves in. Honestly, I know, and everybody knows right now how this is going to end. Probably the most telling answer that Tomlin gave was when he was asked if Rodgers gave him and the Steelers any indication or idea of when he would sign. And Tomlin, you know how he likes to talk with that smirk when he knows something and he's intentionally keeping it from the media. He said, we've had some discussions, but I'll leave them between he and I. So you hear that? I don't even need to, see a picture from Tomlin giving that answer. I know Rodgers is going to go out there on the Pat McAfee live show in Pittsburgh at PPG Paints Arena on April 9th. And he's going to announce then that he signed with the Steelers because he's buddy with Pat. It'd be the most Aaron Rodgers thing to do. We know that that's how that's going to end. Just a couple of other minor things that Tomlin also hit on were that inside linebacker Cole Holcomb and punter Cam Johnston will both be ready for training camp, both coming off pretty similar gruesome knee injuries like that. Glad to see that and hear that both of them are healthy and that they're going to be good to go. Johnston would love to see a full year of him as the Steelers punter, not just one game. And Holcomb, great to have him back, but he's going to need to fill some big shoes in the departure of Landon Roberts. Be interesting to see where he slots in the depth chart among Patrick Queen and Peyton Wilson. Tomlin also on a couple of rule proposal changes said that he is not in favor for wild card teams to have a higher seeding at home and home games over division winners. Kind of ironic seeing how he's always the wild card team. And also I think I saw something that he is in favor of banning the tush push that the Philadelphia Eagles run if it keeps players healthy. There's really been no evidence. They're waiting for concrete evidence, I think, on if the tush push leads to a higher risk of injury. Pretty much the only thing we got right now, I think, is when Chris Jones, the defensive tackle for the Kansas City Chiefs, got banged up in the Super Bowl off a tush push play. So we'll have to wait and see if that gets through as well. Also, if the Steelers rule proposal, I think, for free agents to be able to be in contact with an organization before signings become official gets through. Moving on to what Omar Khan said this morning, he said that it's a safe assumption that the Steelers will bring in another veteran quarterback, whether that's Aaron Rodgers or someone else to be determined. Said that two quarterbacks will be added to the mix, whether it's through free agency or draft, really going in with the mindset that we're leaving all options on the table. That's been Khan's saying this offseason. He also talked about the draft and said that reacquiring a second-round pick and amassing compensation picks in 2026, two individual things there. Reacquiring a second-round pick in this year after trading one away for DK Metcalf, I have been in full support of that idea. You trade back maybe a couple spots. A team near the top is looking to make a splash and get a player that they really like top of the league, of course, not top of the draft order. Maybe like you get the Minnesota, or not the Minnesota Vikings, the Detroit Lions, who are hungry for an edge rusher, not really a need of yours. You need a defensive tackle, not an edge rusher. So maybe the Detroit Lions get hungry for a player like that. Maybe the Kansas City Chiefs, they're looking for offensive line help. This offensive line class, it's all right, but it's really, really top heavy. So the Chiefs may say, hey, we need to get up there and get one of these top 3 or 4 guys in case, they don't make it to us. And also talking about the compensation picks. Of course, Steelers right now getting 4 compensation picks or compensatory picks in next year's draft. Khan said that was critical in how they've done business this offseason, and I don't think it's necessarily going to be hard to predict that the Steelers are going to trade up in next year's draft to get that franchise quarterback of the future, and the compensatory picks really makes that easier and more willing to do if you're the Steelers. Quote here from Khan, on the Steelers quarterback situation. He said, we always go to training camp with 4 quarterbacks, and we have 2 under contract right now. So all options are on the table through free agency, trade, or draft, obviously. So that's Khan covering all of his bases there. Talking about, these are some more minor things Khan talked about. Did say that he's hopeful TJ Watt will finish his career as a Pittsburgh Steeler. The pass rush player market has inflated very, very much this offseason, and Watt is going into the last year of his contract. My gut tells me the Steelers will get an extension done with him, but then again, these are the Steelers. They have really, for the most part, done business of it's better to let a guy go a year too early than a year too late. So, the closer and closer we get to training camp, I look for a Watt extension to get done then. But, if regular season games start being played and Watt isn't signed to an extension, then it puts a big question mark on if he's a Steeler beyond 2025. Khan was asked if his offer to Justin Fields was competitive with the Jets offer. He kind of, brushed that question aside, said, I'm not going to get into contract stuff, and that, Justin just decided to go with the Jets. So I think that gives the idea that it is true that Khan's offer was in the 2-year, $30 million range with about $20 million guaranteed, and that Fields went with the money and more of a commitment from the Jets. And last thing that Khan said I want to talk about here, I'm going to get to it here in the next segment. The reports that Aaron Rodgers and DK Metcalf were training together recently. Khan said that he wasn't there, but if it did happen, that's good. And it's been proven now through pictures that indeed is true. So just looking at what's all going on here on Twitter, Metcalf and Rodgers were seen together at UCLA. Metcalf running routes, Rodgers dropping back, really looking like he's running Arthur Smith plays, sort of faking the handoff, throwing over the middle, real Arthur Smith style of offense looking play right there. Shout out to amen.culture on Instagram. They had videos and many photos of Rodgers and Metcalf throwing together. Rodgers, again, not signed, but, you had all the insiders this morning, your Tom Pelisseros, Mike Garafalo's, Ian Rappaport's, saying that this is, again, kind of like Rodgers' visit to the Steelers a couple of Fridays ago. This is a strong sign that a deal is all but done with the Steelers. Excuse me. Yeah, both men looking healthy. Rodgers was also, I think I saw someone post, he was recently spotted in Tijuana, so unsure whether Rodgers was there before or after this throwing session that they're calling it, but Rodgers and Metcalf, possibly two new teammates and two new additions to the Steelers organization training together. And that's good. Rodgers isn't doing this if he's thinking about retiring, in my book. And he just isn't doing this, for the hell of it. Ian Rappaport, NFL Network insider, said that this was not a coincidence, that this was a planned session, and it sounds like it went very well. From my understanding, this is Rappaport speaking, it was lengthy. It probably is Aaron Rodgers' last stop. He needs to make sure it's right. If that includes throwing with the newly acquired star receiver for the team, okay, it wasn't much of a secret, like the Steelers meeting. This was, out broad daylight. They even, took pictures together. It wasn't somebody, peeking over a fence or through bushes. It was plain as day. They wanted this out there, whether it's Rodgers, the Steelers, Metcalf, or all three. So great to see that Rodgers is at least somewhat committing to working with these new Steelers wide receivers. And also, Garafolo also had that this throwing session was just another step in the process where Rodgers is most likely going to be a Steeler. Going to get into some other Steelers news here. The NFL did announce today that their global markets program for 2025 has expanded. 29 teams across 21 international markets now have access to grow their fan bases around the world and build their brands globally. This is the fourth year of this program. And when you hear the markets that the Steelers in, you won't be shocked. One of the biggest ones, and really one of the most crowded ones, Steelers in Mexico. Big market down there. Steelers fans always, you see players and alumni travel down to Mexico, host watch parties there, all that good stuff. So Steelers growing their market in Mexico. Also, they are in Germany. Again, another big market there in terms of a lot of teams there. And then one of the smaller ones there, the Steelers, no shock, the island of Ireland. The Steelers are probably out of, the other four teams that are marketing there. They're probably the biggest. And of course, the Steelers playing a regular season game over there this upcoming season. And Jerry Dulac of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette said that the NFL's Peter O'Reilly said that a date and opponent for the Steelers game in Ireland should be announced around when the NFL's league schedule is released in early May. So you'll probably hear promotions for that sort of thing around the draft. So expect this. I'd expect that the announcement of when and who the Steelers are playing in Ireland to come out before the full schedule release. So gonna hear from that after the draft. And also this one's not really Steelers related, but it's just hilarious. We can all laugh at the Browns. Cameron Justice, who covers the Cleveland Browns, said that their head coach Kevin Stefanski thinks Kenny Pickett is a guy that he believes in and that the team believes in. Absolutely hilarious. And also hilarious, them also on the record at the meetings saying that they messed up signing Deshaun Watson to that mega extension. Okay, I think we are going to get in now to the mock draft portion of the show. So let me share my screen here. Bring up the PFF mock draft simulator. Again, probably my favorite of all the mock draft simulators out there. Pretty on top of, things changing in the league. You don't, for example, you don't have the Jets taking a quarterback 9 times out of 10 anymore because they signed Justin Fields and all that. So we're just going to do kind of like what we did last week, a normal one here, going to be just the Steelers at 21, go through all 7 rounds, and then next week we'll, mix it up, add some flavor. For the 5 of you in here, if you have any recommendations or thoughts on anything I've talked about so far, or, any picks I should make in this mock, feel free to put them in the comments. So let's get underway here. Steelers pick number 21. Going to sim through the first 10 picks here, see what goes down here. And just like that, as everybody expects, Cam Ward going number 1 overall to the Tennessee Titans. An absolute laugher here. Shedeur Sanders going to the Browns at number 2. I think Sanders, even though probably top of, number 2 on my quarterback draft list, I think he shouldn't be drafted anywhere near this area. Hilarious that the Browns, who are notorious for being successful in drafting and developing quarterbacks, take Sanders there. Seems like a good match. Travis Hunter, number 3 to the New York Giants. Abdul Carter to the Patriots. Will Campbell going number 5 to the Jacksonville Jaguars. A little shocked at that. Seems like one of the slam dunk picks in this draft is Mason Graham going to the Jags at 5. Ashton Genty, another pick everybody thinks is a slam dunk to the Raiders at number 6. Graham to the Jets at 7. Armand Membo, tackle who could be in consideration for the top tackle off the board this year, goes number 8 to the Carolina Panthers. Tyler Warren, I think the highest I've seen him in a mock draft so far, number 9 to the New Orleans Saints. And then Jahdae Barron, corner from Texas, to the Chicago Bears. So now we're going to sim all the way up to the Steelers pick here. See what's going on. Will Johnson, corner from Michigan, would have been in heavy consideration for the Steelers pick at 21. If he fell, he goes number 11 to the San Francisco 49ers. Mike Green, edge rusher from Marshall, really shot up draft boards after the Senior Bowl, goes to the Dallas Cowboys at number 12. Matthew Golden, wide receiver, to the Miami Dolphins at number 13. That is an interesting pick. Golden down in Miami with Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. If that were to happen in the draft, my guess would be that Hill would be on his way out. There's been, speculations and Hill posting ominous things on X about him possibly leaving Miami. So interesting pick there. Back-to-back wide receivers, Tetaroa McMillan, wide receiver from Arizona, to the Colts at 14. Jihad Campbell, linebacker, going to the Atlanta Falcons. Michael Williams, a run on edge rushers and linebackers here. Michael Williams from Georgia to the Cardinals. Shamar Stewart going to the Bengals. Stewart, really kind of like all Texas A&M defensive linemen. I'm going to steal this term from Mel Kiper of ESPN, draft analyst. He is an LTPer, looks the part, is an athletic freak, has the measurables to be successful in the NFL, but hasn't had the production in college to back it up. So I guess I could live with the Bengals making that pick. Jalen Walker, linebacker from Georgia, going to the Seahawks at 18. Malachi Starks, another Georgia player, going to the Buccaneers at 19. And then Emeka Egbuka, who I would have considered at this pick, going to the Broncos at 20. So looking at the board right now, Luther Burden, wide receiver, unless it was Egbuka, who I think, has a good head on his shoulders and would probably be best for the Steelers. He's an opposite, mindset and attitude from George Pickens, in case Pickens runs himself out of town after this year. Would have taken Egbuka here, would have considered it. Not saying I would definitely take him. But Burden, good player, not really interested because we have Metcalf now. James Pierce, Donovan Ezeraku, two defensive ends, not interested in defensive ends. So real quick, just going to take a look here at the trade offers. It's only the Philadelphia Eagles who are asking to trade with us. They own pick 32. Now, here's where my head's at. Probably my slam dunk pick here would be Kenneth Grant from Michigan. Defensive lineman. He's 6'3", 340 pounds. Going to be a rock in the middle of that defensive line. Steelers desperately need that. You're going to bounce Keanu Benton out to edge. So, I mean, Kenneth Grant is there. I'm very tempted to take him. But at the same time, you got some other interesting names. You got Walter Nolan, who is another top defensive tackle prospect. Could go, in the real draft in April, could go ahead of Kenneth Grant. Don't quote me on this, just, listening to other, scouts and analysts. There's some sort of chatter or speculation that there might be off the field issues with Walter Nolan, and that's why he's not being projected as high as some have them on their draft boards. I'd consider Nolan with Grant there. You also got two guys here who I love. Derek Harmon, who is 6'5" and 310, so a little less weight, a little less heavy than Kenneth Grant, but dude tested like Cam Hayward at his combine and pro day. And then also you got Darius Alexander, who, Steelers love their MAC players, 6'4", 310, a little bit older, 25 years of age. So, and then also here, definitely not sleeping on possibly taking Omari and Hampton. Dude has gotten comps to Rashard Mendenhall. Steelers fans know that name very well. 6'1", great size, 220, and he, would, had it not been for Ashton Genty, easily been the top running back in this draft class, I believe. So for this go around, going to stick and pick with Kenneth Grant, but if the Steelers were to trade down to 32, good chance you get Walter Nolan, Derek Harmon, Darius Alexander, one of those three defensive linemen. Don't think Hampton's going to last too long after I make this pick, but Kenneth Grant just seems like such a perfect fit for the Steelers, and we're going to take him right here. And again, not considering, a quarterback, Jackson Dart, Jalen Milroe, because I'm doing this mock draft under the assumption that Aaron Rodgers is, has put pen to paper with the Steelers before the draft. So, Kenneth Grant, welcome to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Okay, going to see what else is going on here in the first round. So, looking here, Walter Nolan did go off the board, 25 to the Texans, and Derek Harmon and Omari and Hampton did get picked up back-to-back, picks 31 and pick 30. Harmon to the Bills, Hampton to the Chiefs. I'm actually happy now that I did stick and pick with Kenneth Grant because Darius Alexander, I like him, but still, though, it would be a bummer having all three of those guys, Hampton, Harmon, and Nolan, get picked. So glad to see that. Cleveland Browns here, they take Luther Burden, so they go quarterback, wide receiver in the first round. Just going to sim through the second round here, seeing how the Steelers don't have a second round pick. See interesting players of note who went off the board and what their division rivals did. So, like I said, Browns did go wide receiver. They took Luther Burden. Looking here, not really much else of note has gone down. I see Cam Scatabo. Steelers fans love him as a running back possibility for the Steelers. He goes to Green Bay. Jackson Dart going to Carolina. Interesting pick there. Maybe Carolina not entirely sold on Bryce Young, so they bring in another Ole Miss quarterback, kind of like they did Matt Corral years ago. And not much else there. Ravens picked up Kyle Kennard, and they also picked up Tyler Booker in the first round. So Ravens get a guard, not entirely worried about Booker there. And Kyle Kennard, like him as a prospect, but okay if he goes to a division rival. Okay, going to fast forward to the Steelers picks here. Saw Quinshon Judkins go off the board with the first pick there. Would have heavily considered him. So, yeah, Quinshon Judkins gone. I think Trevion Henderson also went. So there goes two of my favorite running back prospects. Same with Dylan Sampson. He is gone. Marcus Membaugh, tackle, goes to the Browns. Not really worried about that pick. Alfred Collins, another defensive lineman, goes. Jalen Milroe, Steelers seem to love him. He goes to the New York Jets at 73. Excuse me here. And yeah, nothing else. Okay, so the Steelers are back on the clock here. Do have a trade offer. Not really thrilled with much here at the top of this possible area. What trade offers do we have? Pick 100 and pick 106. All right, so not going to do that. Intriguing that Trey Harris is still here. 6'3", 210. Steelers, I think, have met with him, and they seem to have a common theme among draft wide receivers that they're meeting with, and looking for, bigger bodies, kind of like George Pickens and DK Metcalf. So Trey Harris could be an interesting pick here. Very tempted, especially if he can, stick around, maybe if George Pickens leaves. Thinking a little too early to take a swing tackle. Jordan Phillips is still here. Defensive lineman, 6'3", 320, from Maryland. Though I feel like I want to space out my defensive line picks. So Jalen Knowles also here. He's, a bit smaller. Steelers have met with him. I know that. So think a little bit too high to take one of these running backs like Damian Martinez or Devin Neal. Hopefully one of those guys slides back to 123. And yeah, just looking at things right now. Let me go to running backs just to see what else left. Yeah, DJ Giddens, RJ Harvey still there too. Bashal Tootin, he'll probably slide. Maybe Jaden Blue as well. So I think we're going to take a pick for not necessarily now, but for the future as well. We're going to go Trey Harris from Ole Miss, big wide receiver who could possibly be a George Pickens replacement in a couple of years. Fast forward here. Ravens took a center. The Browns took Tate Ratledge from Georgia. Interesting pick. Could possibly be in consideration for the Steelers at the real draft here in April. Another wide receiver also went off the board. Savion Williams, 6'5", 225, receiver from TCU. Kind of like Harris a little bit more, but was also considering him. All right, let's fast forward again here, get to the Steelers' next pick. Browns take a swing tackle who the Steelers like. I know they like Charles Grant from William and Mary. Steelers seem to take a liking to him. He goes to a division rival in the Browns. Defensive lineman, interior defensive lineman, Deon Walker goes to the Jets. Like him as a possible prospect. Big guy, 6'7", 340. Looking here, Kobe Bryant, corner, who I like, went to the 49ers. And just when we get around to our pick 123, the two running back prospects who I said I kind of like the most there, Devin Neal and Damian Martinez, they go in short order there. Would have definitely picked Martinez if he was available here, looking at his measurables and what all he's done. So back on the board here, looking Jaden Blue still there. I think I'm going to consider taking JJ Pegues here. Met with the Steelers, 6'2", 325. Get some more help on that interior of the defensive line. Jaden Blue's here, running back from Texas, who the Steelers met with down at Texas's Pro Day. Maybe here. But I think looking at all the available options here, I like Noel Williams, the corner from California. I like Pegues here. Let me just look at the interior defensive linemen, see who else is left. Yeah, not much to like there. I was going to take Bashal Tutin, but maybe he can last for another couple of picks till 156. So we're going to go JJ Pegues here. Or do we go Jalen Rivers? Rivers, 6'5", 325, could be your swing tackle. Still, though, I like to beef up the D-line first and foremost. So JJ Pegues, welcome to Pittsburgh. Looking here, Ravens, they do me dirty. They take Bashal Tutin, and they take an edge rusher as well. Waiting here for pick 156, and Luke Kandra, guard from Cincinnati, goes to the Bengals. So Steelers back up here, and Quinn Ewers is still here. Steelers seem to like him, have met with a ton of quarterback prospects this draft cycle. Ewers is going to take a top 30 visit with the Steelers, I think. So he's there. Trevor Etienne, maybe. Looking here, I think if I wait till 185, a running back who, yeah, there's still some good running backs here. Ollie Gordon, in particular, is still there. I think he was, the best college running back in 2023, had a down year in 2024. So, and, big guy, kind of, give you a change of pace compared to Jalen Warren and Kenneth Gainwell, who you have. So I think we're left here to take Quinn Ewers, not taking much of a commitment or risk here, taking him. See what he has. Quinn Ewers, pick 156. Trevor Etienne did go off the board to the Eagles. Denzel Burke, corner from Ohio State, goes off the board too. And my screen froze there for a second. Ravens, not really much doing with their picks either. So now we're back up here. Kyle McCord's there. Tyler Shuck's there. Could have taken Shuck, but I think I give Ewers an edge over him. Emory Jones is here. Tempted to take Emory Jones. What trade do we have? All right, so we do have a trade. 169 here. If I can pick up 169 and let's say 228 for 185. All right, that's likely to be accepted. See, I would trade back a little there. I like the idea of taking Emory Jones here, but I also don't want to risk Ollie Gordon falling down to 29. Probably going to get scooped up by then. Screw it. No risk it, no biscuit. I'm going to go Emory Jones and see what running backs are left there. See if Jalen Warren is going to be the guy. Taj Brooks, gone. Ollie Gordon, there he goes as well. Ricky White, wide receiver who's a punt returner, good kick returner. He's gone. Just see what the Steelers got cooking here, running back wise at pick 229. Let's go to the running backs here. Raheem Sanders is there. Jaquindon Jackson. I think what we got to go with here is Donovan Edwards from Michigan. 6'1", 212, still a tall back. Change of pace from what you have in the room. So let's go with Donovan Edwards here from Michigan. See what grade the simulator spits out for us. Let's crank up the speed here. And Kenneth Grant, a pretty good grade. B+. I will take it. Like picking up Kenneth Grant and Trey Harris. 2 early picks. Trey Harris sort of just fell in our laps there. JJ Pegues, picked him up. See, PFF is saying I should have taken Jalen Rivers, but I like the idea of picking up Emory Jones as a swing tackle this year and possibly a guard next year when Isaac Seumalo most likely departs in free agency. Also, you get a low risk, high reward shot at Quinn Ewers. And then you got Donovan Edwards, who I think it's going to be a running back by committee anyways with Jaylen Warren and Kenneth Gainwell and Edwards. So with that, going to stop sharing. And we're back. Let's take a quick scroll through Twitter here before I continue with the other things I want to talk about. Pittsburgh Penguins having their team photo day today. Seeing a lot of pictures of Steelers reporter for the Pat McAfee show, Mark Aboli today. He seems to be everywhere. And Derek Shelton says Mitch Keller will start Friday's opener. Okay, going to get to that in a moment. All right, so let's hop in now to some Pirates news on that note. So, yeah, Pirates are off to an absolutely rotten start this year. So on Friday, left off with you with the Bucks going into their second game of their opening 4-game series against the Miami Marlins. Pirates did win that game 4-3. Mitch Keller pitched a strong 5 1/3 innings. O'Neal Cruz swung a hot bat. He walked once, went 2 for 4 with a 2-run home run. And thank goodness the Bucks had barely a big enough lead to where David Bednar could not blow it. So they hung on to that game and won 4-3. After that game, the fit hit the shan. To put it bluntly, nothing went the Pirates' way, mainly by their own doing. On Saturday, the Bucks lost 5-4 in 12 innings to the Fish. Bailey Falter had a good start of the regular season, and Joey Wentz, I got to tell you, Joey Wentz, he pitched his ass off in relief for the Pirates to keep the game tied in extras. However, Bucks made too many errors, and they couldn't hit with runners in scoring position per usual, so they ended up losing that game. Sunday wasn't much different, just more of the same. They lost 3-2 in walk-off fashion again in the 9th. But what frustrated me most about that game is the lineup going into that game. There was no Key Brian Hayes. All right, I understand you want to manage the back a little bit, but Joey Bart and O'Neal Cruz were out of the lineup that day. I think Cruz came in for a pinch hit later in the ball game, but we're 3 games into the season. Why are we sitting guys that early, in the season? They're fresh. Just more ineptitude by Derek Shelton there, and the only highlight of that afternoon was Andrew McCutchen hitting a home run. That was his 800th career extra base hit. But yeah, besides, the starting pitching being just about as good as advertised, I think they had a 2.42 ERA among the four starters, Skeens, Keller, Falter, and most recently Andrew Heaney. So besides the starting pitching being good and, bullpen pitchers not named Colin Holderman or David Bednar being somewhat serviceable, Bucks did nothing right. What didn't go right for them? Or what didn't go wrong for them, I should say. They stole a bunch of bases. That's a plus, but couldn't get those runners in if their lives depended on it. Really, in the back half of the series, their base running fundamentals were atrocious. To put it lightly, cough, cough, G1 Bay, cough, cough, Tommy Pham. The O'Neill Cruz center field experience, it is off to a fantastic start. Among other preventable, errors by fielders, most of them probably playing out of position. And like I said, Colin Holderman and David Bednar have been atrocious in late in these ball games and are worthy, frankly, of being DFA'd if things don't drastically, and I mean drastically, turn around here in the next few games. So just an overall terrible season or terrible series and a total opposite start to this season compared to last. And as a matter of fact, it was historically bad. The Bucks are the first team since, ironically enough, the 1924 Pirates to be walked off for their first 3 losses of the season. Now, I have serious doubts that the Bucks will go 90 and 63 like that 1924 team, because it feels like we're all left wondering if this team is comedically bad or if they're just flat out horrible. Some other news related to the Bucks: right-handed relief pitcher Peter Strzelecki and outfielder Joshua Palacios, who were DFA'd within the past 10 days. They officially both cleared waivers and will report to AAA Indianapolis. Also, the probable starters for the next series for the Pirates, which starts tonight against the Tampa Bay Rays. That game begins at 7:05. The probable pitchers for those games were announced. On the mound tonight will be right-handed pitcher Carmen Mlodzinski, a to-be-decided pitcher for tomorrow's game, and Paul Skeens will pitch in the series finale on Wednesday. So you hear that? How effing fantastic does that sound, where we are going to be getting a bullpen game on top of Paul Skeens officially missing the home opening series. I mean, sure, let's have a bullpen game 6 games in when you have guys who are ready to make a start in Bubba Chandler and Thomas Harrington stuck that down there in AAA. Throw in Braxton Ashcraft, as a matter of fact. Just, again, 6 games in, guys. Why are we throwing a bullpen game already? You should have just kept, a starting pitcher up here already if you're going to go by, that thought. I mean, also, this one's directed at the, pretty much the bullpen games directed towards Shelton. This is directed at all of the Pirates organization. You're fresh off Dejan Kovacic of DK Pittsburgh Sports writing a scathing article, that he found out that the Pirates are losing money and that they're in debt. So, you're fresh off that. Let's have your biggest possible draw in Paul Skeens not pitch once in the home opening series against one of the most covered and famous teams in the entire sport. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong when I say that I will be very disappointed if there are no sell the team chants at this home opening series. I mean, this is ridiculous. I might give a little bit of leeway if there's no chance because half the crowd's going to be Yankees fans, but come on. this is going to be inevitable this season, and they need to come out loud and early. So no Skeens in your opening series when you're looking to generate revenue. That's, backward. I don't know much about business, but that seems counterproductive right there. So yeah, thanks Charrington and Shelton. Pirates fans deserve better than this, but we all know that nothing's going to change. Shelton is, the manager. He will keep putting out the same unreliable players in high pressure situations every game. The GM will continue to keep better replacements down in AAA, like Kyle Nicholas in place of Colin Holderman or David Bednar, and Nick York in place of, who do you want to say, Emmanuel Valdez and, Adam Frazier, though Frazier had a, good ending to the series. But, guys like that who are ready to come up, they're stuck down there because of the general manager. And of course, the big one, the owner will continue to hold this franchise hostage and will, hold on for dear life as it sinks deeper into debt. And he will not take the life preserver that is being probably, out there for him to take by selling the team for a pretty penny. He's not going to take that. He's just going to sit on his ass and do nothing, hoping that things magically get better and that he magically makes a profit. But I mean, yeah, after, what this opening series produced, I dare the Pirates to send out another email survey, because fans will take that survey and they'll make the original one look like we all think the Pirates could do no wrong and that they're contenders. Just absolutely ridiculous. We're not even a week in, and I and the rest of the fan base, we already have enough built up frustration that usually we don't reach until July or August. So a massive change, more like massive changes, need to come, and someone's metaphorical head needs to roll. Somebody needs fired. I don't care if it's Shelton. I don't care if it's Charrington. Somebody needs to go, because it's been a decade now since we've been competitive, and leading up to this season, we've been promised that 2025 was going to be the year in which the Pirates are playing meaningful baseball in September, and that they're, possibly going to win the division or at least be in a wild card. And right now it feels like we are more heading further down the dark path that we've been on than we are getting closer to that promised competitiveness and contention. If 2025 was truly the year, like, so many thought, where they were going to push all their chips in to the middle of the table, they've really showed it. I mean, I'd be interested in what your guys' thoughts are. Maybe things magically turn around tonight. Let me pull up here. Yeah, let me click here, actually. Bucks lineup tonight, somewhat back to normal. Pham in left field leading off. Reynolds is going to be designated hitter in the 2-hole. O'Neill Cruz in center. Joey Bart catching. Jack Sawinski in right. Key Brian Hayes back at third. Endy Rodriguez at first. Adam Frazier at second base. And then Isaiah Kiner-Falefa at short, with Carmen Mlodzinski pitching. So, yeah, looking for something to drastically change. Here's a new one-on-one interview. Max starts with Omar Khan that the Steelers just posted. Gonna check that out here in a little bit after I log off here. Interesting, not Pirates related, but man, what a shock this is. Jurickson Profar, who honestly I think the Pirates should have considered signing this offseason compared to what's left of Tommy Pham. He has just been suspended 80 games for testing positive for performance-enhancing drug and a a PED called HCG. 80 games. Jurickson Profar of the Atlanta Braves going to miss a big chunk of this season. Okay, before we wrap up the stream here, going to hit on one more note, and that is talking about some Pittsburgh Penguins hockey. So yesterday, the Pens played a very entertaining back-and-forth game without any goals, and they beat the Ottawa Senators in overtime, 1-0. Sidney Crosby potted the game winner in OT on the power play. Erik Karlsson set it up. Crosby one-time slap shot to the top corner of the net, and if you've seen it, it's pretty much like the hockey equivalent of a Paul Skeens 102-mile-an-hour fastball at the top of the zone. There is no stopping it. You can only pray to get a piece of it. But as much as I love talking about Sid and his greatness, also got recognized for passing Wayne Gretzky for most years in NHL history with at least a point per game. Story of the game yesterday for me was how good the two new kids were. Those two kids I'm referring to, of course, were forwards Ville Koivunen and Rutger McGroarty, who were called up from the AHL on Friday. They were immediately thrusted into high-pressure situations. McGroarty was on the first line left wing with Crosby and Brian Rust. Meanwhile, Koivunen was on wing with Ricard Raquel, centering the second line with Connor Dewar. So both of those guys saw the ice quite a bit, and I really focused in on what those two did throughout the game. And after watching them, I got to say, I don't think I'm too out of pocket when I say I am sold on Koivunen and McGroarty being a long-term pieces of the Penguins organization. Those kids are going to be around for a while. They're going to be big pieces of the future. Koivunen seemed like he was the victor in every single puck battle he was in and showed off his shoot-first mentality. Meanwhile, McGroarty, on his 21st birthday, no less, was a forecheck and back-check machine, and he showed great chemistry with Crosby. The Pens have 7 games to go before this nightmare, hellish season ends, but at least we get to see some optimism and some hope for the future thanks to these two. And, of course, I have to mention the other young guys down in Wilkes-Barre in the AHL as the Baby Pens are about to compete for the Calder Cup in the AHL playoffs. Looking at some other Penguins news, nothing has really changed in the statuses of injured forwards of Evgeny Malkin or Tommy Novak. If anything, they're skating individually on their own, but I still think it's going to be a couple days until they come back. The Pens did recently take a name off the injured list in defenseman Ryan Shea. He played Sunday, but another name was added to that list. Forward Boko Imama recently underwent bicep surgery and will be out 4 to 6 months recovery time. So his season is over, but hopefully he will be good to go for training camp next year. This news just came down probably around 3 hours ago. Forward Emil Bemstrom was put on waivers. He's been with the main club for a couple of weeks now, but, really hasn't stood out. I actually give him a half-decent chance of getting claimed by another team, possibly a contender. If not, he goes back down to Wilkes, where he's been most of this season, and he helps them in their playoffs. And the last piece of Pens news is that some team awards were given out today. To absolutely nobody's surprise, Crosby was named team MVP and the team's player. Meanwhile, Noel Acciari was named unsung hero. So congratulations to Sid and Noel on getting recognized by the team. Pens are off today as well as Tuesday and Wednesday, and then their next game will be in St. Louis to take on the Blues on Thursday night. Let me go here, pop this up real quick, and take one last scroll through Twitter, see if anything is going on here. going to hop off here before the Pirates game here in under an hour. Not seeing much news, just seeing a bunch of pictures for the most part of Rodgers and DK Metcalf together. So more and more it seems like Rodgers is going to be a Steeler after all. The NFL just reported that throwback jerseys for all NFL teams can be worn up to 4 times this upcoming season. So Steelers may be wearing their block number jerseys more often, should be the regulars, but great to see that they now can wear them more than once. All right, I think that is going to be it for today, ladies and gentlemen. We've been on for over an hour tonight. We'll be back here around the same time tomorrow for another live stream. I hope you join me back then. Getting closer to the big stream I have planned for the draft here in April. And appreciate all of you joining me here tonight. Like and share this stream. Comment on this stream. Well, you can still comment in the live chat if you want to talk with me before I head off. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so that you never miss when I am live again. Appreciate all of you joining me, and I will see you guys back here tomorrow. Thank you.